Hello, and welcome to Your Vote Counts, a public, informational, nonpartisan program that's designed to get the public acquainted with the candidates vying for this 2024 primary election with the local races of Salem Mayor, Salem City Council, Marion County Commissioner, and Polk County Commissioner. These interviews come to you through the producers at Capital Community Media, with collaboration on questions from the American Association of University Women and the League of Women Voters of Marion and Polk counties. All candidates for these races were invited, and all but one chose to participate. Candidates did not receive the questions that were designed and created by League of Women Voters ahead of time. The candidates were invited to prepare a 2-minute opening telling us something about their biographical information and their qualifications for the race. And they are also going to be able to share with us a 2-minute closing of any kind of remarks they wish and possibly what their priorities are if elected. I'm Bernadine Anderson from the League of Women Voters of Marion and Polk counties, and I would like today to introduce you to Nathan Soltz, who is running for Salem City Councilor Ward 3. Candidate Soltz will now have 2 minutes to share opening remarks, and welcome Candidate Soltz.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. So, I was born and raised in Medford. I'm the proud son of an immigrant from El Salvador. And in 2014, what brought me to Salem was I was volunteering on the re-election campaign of my state senator, Dr. Alan Bates. And towards the end of that campaign, he said, "Nathan, I don't know what your plans after graduation are, but if you find your way in Salem, I'd love to have you as an intern at my office." And I knew that was an opportunity I could not pass up, but I did not know what my own plans after college were. I did not come from a wealthy family. There was no college fund. No one in my family had earned a 4-year degree before, but I knew I couldn't miss that. So I moved to Salem, enrolled at Chemeketa, interned at Dr. Bates' office, ended up transferring to Western Oregon University, and the junior year of college, my dad very suddenly passed away. And I had to take some time off to handle those family matters, but I ended up graduating in 4 years with dual degrees, becoming the first in my family to earn a 4-year degree. Worked as many as 3 jobs at a time to pay my way through college. But I kept working in our state senate. In 2019, I became the chief of staff to Senator Lou Frederick, which is a position I still have. Just finished my 9th session working in our state senate. And for me, with my experience working in government and making good public policy, one thing underscores everything that I want to work towards in City Hall, and that's the need for collaboration at all levels, public, private, from regional up to our federal partners. We need to be collaborating and working together. It's not enough to have the same goals. We need to be working together towards those goals, and that's what I want to bring to City Hall.
Wonderful. We look forward to hearing your responses to our questions. And our first question at this time is, many residents don't understand the role of council members. What is that role, and why should they be interested in this race?
Council members, I believe, first and foremost, are supposed to be representing their constituents in City Hall. Salem has wards where each councilor represents a specific section of the city. We have 8 of them. Ward 3 is the geographically largest ward. It's kind of like Southeast Salem, Kubler being the southern boundary, going all the way out to South Lancaster and city limits. So when someone has a concern with the city, has an issue they want the city to address, their city councilor is supposed to be that voice, the person who knows what's going on in their community and advocates for their constituents on City Council and in City Hall. I am proud to be the board secretary of the Morningside Neighborhood Association. I've served on that board for years now, and I'm very well involved with what's going on in our community and the unique challenges facing Ward 3 and how those play into a larger vision for Salem. So everybody, hopefully, is paying attention and wants to see some things change, has some concerns that they want to see addressed by the city, has opinions on what the city is or is not doing. Well, the first thing they can do is elect a councilor who may or may not share their positions, but definitely will listen to them and knows what's going on in their ward, in their neighborhood. And that's why folks should be paying attention.
Okay. Our second question today then branches out on that outreach that you've just mentioned. So how would you work on communication and outreach to local groups and institutions in order to improve collaboration, which you mentioned earlier, concerning these shared issues and problems?
You basically answered the question in your question, which to me is communication. I think the city, one of the main things the city needs to work on is its communication, not just with partners, but out to the residents of Salem and all the folks who come here to work and play as well. There's so many great things that the city has done, areas where we've seen improvement. I mean, we need, for example, definitely homelessness is an area where just about everybody I've spoken to, everybody says that's one of the main issues addressing our city. Salem is actually one of the very few cities, not just in our state, but nationally, where the homeless rate has gone down in the last couple years. There's still a whole lot of work to do, did not go down a lot, but it's not actually getting worse. But you look around, it's hard to tell that. The city should be advertising everything that it's doing to support the community, and that means starting with the councilors, going to their neighborhood associations, making sure that those folks know what's going on, being in constant contact with the businesses in their ward to see, where the city is partnering with the state and federal government for grants, for other kinds of economic relief. Those are all things the city can be doing, and I have not been seeing that happen. Like I said, I've been working in our state legislature for 9 sessions now, and we hear all the time from cities across the state, not just folks from within our district, but from across the state coming and talking and lobbying on their issues. I have not seen the city of Salem be involved in the capital the same way cities that are much further away from our state capital have been. So that increasing our communication and recognizing that communication is not just an afterthought, but is how we're going to be addressing these things, getting folks together, making sure that folks are informed of what the issues are and what we're doing to address them. That is the only way we're going to be able to address all these issues. We cannot do it alone.
Since you mentioned homelessness, I'm going to go to a question with that as a topic. The City Council has acknowledged homelessness as a critical issue in our community. What are some proposals, new or existing, that address the needs of the unsheltered?
First, I want to make it really clear that I fully support a housing first model. I believe very strongly that we cannot get folks the treatment they need for any other conditions, any other issues they're facing if they do not have a secure place to call home. Just that, we have the data and the research and all that proves that, but just on a very human level, you can imagine how hard it is if you're facing mental illness, if you're facing addiction, if you are having a hard time securing employment, how you cannot resolve any of those concerns that you have if you don't have a door that you can lock and keep your valuables safe while you're away. While they are addressing those issues. We need to keep having a housing first model. I'm very proud that this current council has adopted that. I fully support us keeping doing that. Likewise, we need to make sure that when you have, using the old trope, when you have a hammer, everything looks like a nail to you. And there's so many facets to providing good services to constituents, and it's not a one-size-fits-all situation. So right now we have emergency responders, our police responding to folks who are in crisis situations where, they're not really posing a physical threat to others. They're just in a crisis situation, but we don't have the resources to adequately address the situation that we're in. So we're sending out police officers, ambulances, fire responders, and that is not helping anybody. It is taking valuable resources away from situations where those responders could be doing the work that they're supposed to be doing, and also it's taking away resources that we could be allocating to be directly supporting those folks, helping them get into areas of need. I was at an event and I heard someone tell the story of an individual who was in a restaurant during one of the ice storms, a houseless individual during one of the ice storms, and they were unable to contact a shelter to get in there, get someone to pick them up. So a bystander in the restaurant called 911, an officer came out, picked up that individual, took them to the shelter. It was shared as a feel-good story, and I'm so proud that our officer did that, but they shouldn't have had to. We should have better resources set up in place to directly support these individuals without having to rely on, basically duct taping together, piecemealing together a response to our houseless situation. It needs to be a coordinated, intentional response between us and our partners at all levels.
Thank you. Continuing with a little bit with the housing issue. How have city building codes been altered, especially concerning the permitting process? And do you know what is middle housing? What is middle housing?
So the city has taken a position that when we basically give incentives, tax breaks for building in the city now, it is specifically for affordable housing. And that is crucial. We have a real revenue problem in the city. I anticipate maybe we'll get to it later. Certainly folks have had a lot of questions about that. But the city has been intentional that if we're going to give up some of our revenue, some of our tax dollars, the best way we can invest that diversion of revenue is through affordable housing. That's what we've done for building codes. Middle housing is really crucial, especially in Salem, where when you're focusing on, folks so often talk about low-income housing, affordable housing. The next step up from that is middle housing, when folks are ready to maybe buy their starter home, as it was, or buy a condo, or no longer be in subsidized affordable housing, but they're on their feet and they're ready to move on to a stable apartment that they pay for on their own. That's a really crucial missing piece that we have. As developments come up around the city, and we're focusing so much on getting unhoused folks into housing, which is critical, we need to make sure that we're also prepared that once we get those folks on their feet, once our system is working for them the way it's supposed to, they have a place to go. And when I'm on city council, should I be elected, I want to be sure that we are not forgetting that. We are remembering that getting folks housed is the priority, but we need to look long term. We need to be getting folks, because when someone is in subsidized housing, when that's where they're at, if they don't have a place to go to after that, and they remain there because we should not and cannot be putting them back on the streets, if we don't have middle housing for them to go to after that, that's a bed, that's a home that they're keeping occupied from somebody who really needs it now. So that missing middle housing, we have that in Salem, we should be focusing on that too.
Thank you. In our recently adopted climate action plan, what are the top priorities and strategies that you think will best increase resiliency in our community?
Well, first, I'm really proud that the city has a climate action plan now. That's wonderful that our city council was able to get that done, although Salem was one of the last large cities in Oregon to adopt a climate action plan. But we have that now. We started to implement it. We are facing, of course, again, a significant revenue problem, which is a barrier not only to that, but so many things the city's trying to do. But we need to make sure that we recognize that the investments we have in our climate action plan are going to be paying dividends down the road. These are good long-term investments, not just, from a ethical point of view, but an economic point of view to transitioning to green energy, to sustainable practices. That is going to help the city long-term and save us money long-term. I want to be sure that as we develop, as we recognize the need for housing in the city, we continue to prioritize natural spaces as well, maintaining our parks, which is one of the proposed goals in the Climate Action Plan. I fully support that. Having a strong tree canopy, which again is an economic barrier as well. If you look around our city, most of our tree canopy is in South Salem, is in West Salem. There was a study a few years ago that showed that in South Salem and West Salem, the average temperature is several degrees lower than it is in areas like Northeast Salem, where you also see less trees. And it's directly because of that. When we are continuing to develop, we need to make sure that we are not just creating areas where folks can, have a house, but actually live and have a place that is economically feasible for them to live. And that's what the Climate Action Plan provides for, to make sure that as we're developing, as we're growing, anything that we do to improve the city, we have that lens in mind of keeping things sustainable.
Right. Our next question. When you, as an individual, as a counselor, research issues that are important to the city, how do you prepare, and what resources do you or will you use?
Anything and everything. And I think it's really important that we talk to the folks on the ground. It's one thing to ask city staff, our city manager, to go out and compile research and do whatever. But I believe that it's important for a counselor to be out talking to the folks who are actually doing the work that we want to know more about, who are in the fields that we want to get more involved in, to hear directly from those folks what the challenges are, what the successes have been, and where the city can be a good partner. Getting that firsthand knowledge and making those connections is really invaluable. It's something that I've done working in government, working in policy. I know the importance of that. And making sure that everybody's voice is heard and being intentional about it. I'm proud, like I said before, to be Hispanic. I'm also proud to be Asian and LGBTQ and Jewish. And those are communities whose voices have not been intentionally reached out to. We need to make sure that when we are, getting Salem on the right track and making progress, that we are not forgetting the same voices that have already been forgotten. And that doesn't mean, you can come talk to us. It means being intentional, going to those communities, going to those partners, and saying, we want to hear from you. Please tell us what you want us to know.
Thank you. Candidate Soltz, you are now invited to share your 2-minute closing comments about your goals for this office, if elected, or if there's any other remarks that you wish to make. And I would also like for you to include how our constituency out here would contact you, so if you'd provide your contact information as well.
Thank you, and thank you for having me. I really appreciate this conversation. And I think that as conversations like this, I want to see more of these happening. It's really important that we have an informed electorate. I'm very grateful to the work that the League of Women Voters has been doing on that for over a century now. Like I underscored throughout this conversation, what I said in the beginning is there's so many issues facing Salem, addressing houselessness, bolstering behavioral health services, keeping our library open. So many things, but we cannot do them all alone. City Council cannot address all of these issues alone. We need to be collaborating and working together with regional, state, federal partners, public, private, all of those. And I am proud of the work that I've done. I'm proud of the endorsements that I've earned from folks I've worked with, from local labor unions up to Congresswoman Andrea Salinas, from the Oregon League of Conservation Voters to, of course, our incumbent Councilor Trevor Phillips. All endorsements that I'm very proud to have earned because of the work that I've been doing in this field, because I know what it takes to make good policy, the hard work that is needed to come to solutions that are going to work for our community. That's what I want to see happen. And I believe that it's important that we have someone who is an advocate for the constituents in their community in City Hall, someone who's been involved. I know this community well. This is my home. I'm on the neighborhood association. I've been talking to folks long before I even imagined running for office. This is not something I plan to do. But after a lot of conversations with Councilor Phillips, with others, I recognize that my desire to make good policy is directly applicable in City Hall. And I'm very proud of the work that the city's done with our current council and the mayor, and I hope that we can keep continuing that work. But I believe that I have the expertise and the vision to really get things to the next step. If folks want to find out more or support the campaign, they can go to nathanforsalem.com and get involved and support the campaign, and all my information is on there, and I welcome any conversations.
Thank you. So thank you, candidate Soltz, for our interview today. Nathan Soltz is running for City Council, Salem City Council, Ward 3. And we appreciate your insights and your sharing of your information. I want to also thank Capital Community Media for their extensive technology and producer skills that were used to create this program. Thank you to the League of Women Voters of Marion and Polk Counties for the design and the preparation of the program. And thanks to you, the public, for watching in order to become a more informed voter. For more local, state, and national voter information on candidates and ballot measures, please visit vote411.org after April 15th, when candidate data will be posted. You have until April 30th to register to vote or to make any alteration to your current registration. Ballots go out May 1st and will be accepted and counted if postmarked before or on May 21st. Elections matter. Remember to vote because your vote counts.